Welcome back. Well, it's still Women's Month, but some people are not convinced it's a reason to celebrate. Government says it's making progress, but activists claim that we still have quite a long way to go. Well, let's talk to gender activist Mapaseka Letsike, who is better known in her circles as Steve. We're going to be discussing corrective rape, among other things. A very good morning to you. I think I'll also refer to you as Steve, if you don't mind. No problem. What do you make of Women's Month?
Well, I think for me, Women's Month, it takes us back to acknowledging and appreciating work done by the women decades ago. But it also calls on the crop of women that exist now, that are currently, making leeway to address gender equality in the country. So for me, it's not a cause for celebration, but it's a cause to remind us of work that still needs to be undertaken to address gender equality.
Yes, it often highlights gender issues and brings them to the fore a lot. What would you say has been our progress, or have we progressed with regards to gender issues?
For me, the progress is one, when you speak about the policy issues, you need to then say what gender equality laws have been enacted in the country, and secondly, how active are these policies? So now, yes, if we talk about representation, we're trying to get to 50-50 representation, whether in parliament or in the work that we're embarking in. But when we speak reality, the reality is different, because when you speak about issues of power, women are still really not actively accessing that 50-50 role that is required. So the progress is very slow, because we see even what the economic status is, we see what is the reality, and addressing all this gender-based violence that are coming. So there's still a bit of a gap that exists when we're talking about equality.
I want to speak more about the gender-based violence. You have had many instances of people around you dealing with corrective rape, etc. when it comes to gays and lesbians. We were just chatting off air about several instances that have just happened in the last week. When you think about the grassroots level and the daily realities of gays and lesbians in South Africa, what do you think?
For me, I think if you start even with gender-based violence, we've seen an increase in the country of gender-based violence. And while we're also trying to transition in democracy, the reality of experiences of democracy speaks about gender-based violence. Now, if we then go or boil it down to corrective rape, now it's even worse, because what corrective rape is, it's beyond the rape itself, but it's a motive to correct a particular person or the sexual orientation of that person. So we know in the country, we know the increase of corrective rape targeting particularly lesbian women or transgender people. So there is some crisis that we're dealing with now.
This Women's Month, it may seem like it's all up in the air. It's something very far away from us. It's very aloof. Bring it back down to reality for us, if you may, without mentioning any names. Give us one story of what happens in one of these hate crimes of corrective rape, and the process that one has to go through to identify themselves as still lesbian and still want to continue after that.
I don't know whether we call it a fortunate thing when you speak about a survivor that that remains out of these cases. But often what happens is that the perpetrators themselves either knows the victim, and they will brutally rape you and force to some extent where there's brutal murders in some instances. But often when there is a survivor in case, certain cases are not reported. That because the perpetrator as well, you are victimized even post the incident themselves, that even when you take it to the law, the secondary victimization, people often don't want to even speak about their sexual orientation or gender identity to the service providers, which is the police people. Or what happens is that the secondary victimization, that immediately when you say, I've been raped as a lesbian or a gay man, the cases is often that you are secondary victimized. That why are you gay? When did you become gay? done what redress is supposed to do.
Our time is up, but I cannot leave this interview without asking for solutions. I know you have a beautiful daughter. We imagine a world where this won't be frowned upon, and you know, it will be celebrated as an individual. That's what many people have in mind when they think about the future. What do you think the solutions are? How do we solve this so that everybody can enjoy equal benefits in South Africa?
Well, I think for me, instance, is that if we have ministers or our political principles, speaking publicly does not necessarily only respond. You know, having a political will, it's about speaking about it, but also acting on it. When you speak about justice and redress, it's ensuring that communities are educated, but also there's redress for the victims that exist. So for me, it's that we have not done anything. South Africa is not protecting the rights of LGBTI people. We need to respond, not only talking about it in public. Let's act on it.
We'll have to leave it there for now. Thanks again for your time. That was gender activist Steve Letsike.
News that moves. eNCA.com.